So basically, you'll see that we have some pictures of books here because my books are actually in Laramie, and due to all the craziness, I haven't had time to go up and get them yet. But basically, I chose a book series called the Captive Prince Trilogy for my artifact. And for those of you who maybe know what this series is about but haven't read it, you might be thinking, what the heck, where are you going with this? If you have read it, you might kind of see where I'm going with this. And for those of you who haven't read it and have zero idea what it's about, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the plot before we go any further. So, the basic plot of these books is that there are two main kingdoms we want to focus on, called Alkelos and Vir. In Alkelos, we have our first main character, Daimonos, who was the crown prince of Alkelos. However, his older brother, Castor, who was not a legitimate child, is not too happy about it. So, the morning after their father has died, Daimonos is attacked by his guards and sent off to Vir to be the personal slave of our second main character, Laurent, also the crown prince. Now, in Vir, the age of inheritance is 21, and Laurent is about 10 months shy of 21. His father and older brother were killed in a war with Alkelos about 7 years ago when he was only 13, so his uncle has been ruling in his place. The twist is that Daemon is actually the one who killed Laurent's older brother, Auguste, and he is not well liked in Vir. So he needs to make sure no one finds out who he is, or he's going to get killed for sure. So that's the basic rundown of the plot, but that's not the reason why I chose these books as my Queer Museum artifact. The reason I chose these books for my Queer Museum artifact is mostly because of this wonderful lady here, the author C.S. Pacat. Over the course of the semester, we have been talking a lot about norms and what it means to be normal and how it relates back to queer theory. Well, recently I was watching an interview with C.S. Pacat where she was talking about what it was like for her growing up as a bisexual female. She loved reading fantasy novels but had a hard time finding representation of herself in these novels. However, there was one author in particular who she says was very influential for her, named Anne Rice. And she says Anne Rice was not just influential because she was writing queer characters, but also because she, quote, approached queerness in a really free way, end quote, and other authors in the genre who were writing queer characters would often, quote, import all the contemporary social prejudices and oppressions that we feel as a community, end quote. In other words, she just wanted to read novels where queerness existed and it wasn't punished or questioned, and it just was. And that is exactly the concept she was trying to capture when she wrote this trilogy. She was trying to write the books she wanted to read by redefining the definition of normal. So I don't need to tell you that Laurent is gay or that Daemon is bisexual, and yes, they make up, and yes, they fall in love. That's not the point. The point is that C.S. Pacat has created a universe in which being gay or being bisexual is just seen as a regular, everyday occurrence. So Alkelos, for example, is based off ancient Greece, which was already very open to same-sex relationships, and Vir is based off 17th century France, with a few modifications. In Vir, at least among nobility and the palace guards, entertaining only same-sex relationships until marriage is really just a form of birth control. However, that's assuming that they ever decide to get married, and most of the palace guards just express a preference for men in general. However, what I liked about these books is that even having grown up in Vir, Laurent mentions at one point to Daemon that his older brother's preference had in fact been for women. So this implies that sexuality is about the person themselves and not the environment they were raised in, because even growing up in a society where around him everyone was in a same-sex relationship, Auguste never felt drawn to that. And Daemon, on the other hand, also expresses he mostly prefers women. But when he does have relationships with men, it's because he finds those men attractive and not because he's trying to replace or avoid women. So she's created this world in which the only requirement to have a normal relationship is just that you're attracted to that person. It has nothing to do with your gender or their gender. It's just whatever you like in in people in general. And what I liked most about these novels is that none of the characters ever had one of those question their sexuality moments. And not that those are wrong to have in books, it just really helps enforce this idea that sexuality doesn't need to be a discussion, that no one needs to come out or put some kind of label on themselves, and that the terms gay and straight and bisexual and pansexual just didn't exist because they had no reason for them. And the other reason I wanted to use these books is because C.S. Pacat started writing them online and uploading chapters as she went, but she never thought this could be a book on a shelf or make any kind of profit. And now, not only are they on shelves, but they even made the USA Today bestseller list. And I think that's important because there was nothing like Captive Prince on shelves anywhere before C.S. Pacat. And hopefully that means there will be more books like this in the future as our society continues to change and become more accepting of these concepts, and future kids who are queer will be able to find more representations of themselves the way C.S. Pacat wasn't able to growing up herself. So that's why I think these novels are important and why they belong in a queer museum.